Well, let's go on to Aegon III then, because right after Aegon II gets poisoned, the people that supported Aegon II before teamed up with the supporters of Rhaenyra and installed her son instead as the king. He was then known as Aegon the Younger because there were two Aegons, of course. His reign was from 131 AC to 157 AC. He was known as Aegon the Younger, Aegon the Dragonbane, Aegon the Unlucky, and the Broken King. And in my opinion, the emo king as well, because he could wallow in his sadness.
And he only dressed in black.
And he only dressed in black, yeah.
Well,
also,
he's the one I really feel sorry for, not his uncle. He had a really tough time.
No, yeah, but he's the obvious choice to feel sad about, feel empathy for. I usually choose like the Viserys. I feel really sorry for Viserys even before we got all that backstory about him, because yeah, it's just sad that some person gets to that point where they can't even see reality anymore. But that's not the point. Well, so yeah, he gets crowned, and he is only 11 when he climbs the throne. So they choose to install a regency with a few different people there. I can just quickly sum up the people who at some point sat in the regency.
Page 83 of the book.
Yes, I actually noted it on the page as well. So we have the first Council of Seven and the people that succeeded them. The first Council of Seven was Lady Jane Arryn, Maiden of the Vale, Lord Corlys Velaryon, freshly pardoned, Lord Roland Westerling of the Crag, Lord Royce Caron of Nightsong, Lord Manfred Mooten of the Maidpool, Sir Torrin Manderley of White Harbour, and Grand Maester Munkin. The rest succeeded the first council little by little, and some of them include Lord Unwin Peake, who is not a good guy, Lord Thaddeus Rowan, Sir Corwin Corbray, William Stackspear, Mark Merriweather, and Laurent Grandison. So yeah, right after Aegon II died, Lord Cregan Stark had already decided to take all the men from the north down to go to war to fight for Rhaenyra. And I just have to say, I feel like he's pretty cool from what we hear about him, Lord Cregan Stark. That he just comes to the city with a big army, and they're all like, please don't hurt us. You can be hanged. And then he says, okay, I'll be hanged. So all of you guys will either be hanged or sent to the wall. You choose. And then after that, after all the sentences have been carried out, he just says, well, I don't need to be hanged anymore. See ya.
He's like, I came down here to be hand and kill some people.
Yeah.
I'm all out of people to kill.
Yeah. Yeah, he just...
I am a little curious what his motivation for all this was. Like, why did he feel so drawn to do this? Like, why did he feel like justice was his to carry out at this point?
Yeah, I think sometimes, I mean, I'm not sure about this, but sometimes if you have limited resources and you see a possible reward for going on a crusade, you might choose that and in the same time, get rid of some mouths to feed. I'm not saying his motives were 100% valiant. I'm actually thinking he was kind of more a pragmatic person. But yeah, it has happened in real history as well, where you just took an army and say, well, we're going down there and it doesn't matter if we come back.
Yeah, very pragmatic. And I think when he goes to King's Landing just to kill everyone, I think he just wants to sort shit out, because like they've had a good war and they're ready to go home now. So he's just like, you're all dying. There's going to be no more war.
Yeah.
I want to go home.
But he didn't really fight that many wars, did he? Many battles there. So I think might also just have been like, I'm gonna accomplish something before I go home. I'm not gonna go home empty-handed, so to say.
So is this a commentary on what Ned should have done?
Kill everyone.
Go down, kill what needs killing, and then go back to the north.
That would have been the true way of the Northmen, right?
Yeah, that's so not Ned, though.
Yeah, exactly, because he wasn't trained to be a lord.
Well, he's also a decent human being, so...
Yeah. Okay, apparently Aegon III wasn't a very happy person. He was kind of moody all the time, and he didn't really get any opportunity to produce any heirs with his cousin Jaehaera, because they married when she was 8, and she apparently committed suicide at 10. Some say that Umkin Peak was involved. Some say the Kingsguard, who was guarding her at the point, was involved. Some say both. But yeah, that didn't help his disposition.
The story does not get better. It's like, okay, the war's over. It can't get any worse, right? Wrong.
It's a real clusterfuck. Like, so many people are now scheming to kill and kill each other, and yeah.
Which is why I think it's important to be critical of what's his face, of Viserys, because it's not, obviously nobody can see everything that's going to happen, but it's really not a stretch that this would conclude, and that two different factions trying to be king would conclude in a civil war. And again, it shouldn't take that much imagination to see how, that would happen. And Viserys, his job should have been look, whatever happens, make sure that there isn't a massive civil war, and he just completely, he doesn't even just set the stage. He puts the wood on the thing and lights the torch and then hands it to somebody and dies.
No, he sort of just says before he goes, so when I'm gone, don't fight. And they say, sure we won't. No, we won't, Father. We promise. And then right after he's dead, everything just goes to hell.
Aegon the Fourth is called Aegon the Unworthy because everything that he caused, because of the Blackfire Rebellion and all. But Viserys was just as bad.
Yeah.
He's not remembered as such, but he was.
But he was less
he wasn't
of
as bad a person.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did more damage.
But didn't a lot more people die in the Dance of the Dragons?
Oh yeah.
And most of his own family died.
Yeah.
And the dragons, which are the coolest.
Yeah, and all
it's completely right. You're completely right, everyone. Viserys wasn't the best king ever. Actually, he kind of sucked. The whole situation sucked, and everyone kind of compounded the problem by being so selfish.
Oh yeah, for sure. This isn't solely on him, but since we're discussing this from the point of view of kingship, and if the buck stops at the king, then
and you can sort of say that this whole podcast, all the way to Viserys the Second, is in the wake of the bad decisions that were made by Viserys the First and Aegon and Rhaenyra.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's Viserys' legacy.
So this Peak guy, he really seems like he's bad news.
Do you think he was really the one behind Jaehaera's death? I can't believe it was suicide with someone so young. It's just...
No, I'm not sure he was behind that, but he just seems power hungry and after a lot of land. He ends up at the point where he's hand. He already owns 3 castles.
And he did want to marry his daughter to Aegon.
Yeah, he wanted.
He's super ambitious.
He's really ambitious, and right after she dies, the wife dies. He kind of broaches the opportunity for him to with his own daughter, and it seems conspicuous.
Yeah.
Is this the same Peak who is I guess he would be an ancestor of one of the Peaks in The Mystery Knight?
Gorman Peak. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, the Peaks in general, they're a family of assholes, it seems.
Yeah.
And actually, when you look at their history, they were the ones that got the Manderley Castle when the Manderleys went to the north. So that's one of their 3 castles. So they're ladder climbers, if that makes sense.
And later, they killed Maekar in that uprising later on.
Yeah, they're storming Starpike, and King Micah gets crushed by a rock. So yeah. Peaks, you're all assholes.
Yeah. But we also have William Stackspear. Do we think it's an Easter egg for Shakespeare or something like that?
Oh, it's gotta be. Like, when you look at the rest of these regents, I recognize all the names except for him. So, yeah.
I feel like George is gotta be running out of names. I feel like that might have been more behind the elbow and whatever thing than an actual, like, oh, I'm gonna make a funny connection between the Tullys and Sesame Street. I think it was more just like, have no more names. Okay.
Well, there's a Shakespeare family mentioned a couple of times too.
Yeah.
So it just made a reference to taking advantage of that.
There's a definite tone of like, this was really not good. Like, this was a really bad time. Like, the regencies were terrible and blah, blah, blah. But very little detail on that.
Yeah, I feel like when Fire and Blood comes out, they're going to go into much more detail about who each of these regents were, how they all died, who was killing who.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
funny because it doesn't come up like it isn't, the idea isn't raised. Like, for example, nobody talks about who Viserys regents would have been, and like our Viserys, and like how, can't do that, or like when Joffrey was king, like, you know, they weren't like, hey, we've had a bad regency in the past, let's make sure we don't fuck this one up.
Well, it is 150 years ago.
Yeah, but
and most of the people who are in the small council don't care about it. I mean, it's only like Maester. Oh wait, I can't even remember what the Maester is called. Grand Maester Pycelle.
Pycelle?
Yeah.
Yeah, only the Maesters read the history books, so like everyone else has forgotten about this, and it's like, yeah, let's have a regency.
Yeah, they don't even
sounds
know.
like a good idea.
They don't even know where Maegor's teats come from. That it's actually from this era.
True.
What do you think of Aegon?
Aegon?
Yeah, I feel bad for this one. I think I think this is a guy who, if his trauma had like turned him into an evil person, then he would have been a more complicated character. But he is really just a guy who is scarred by childhood trauma and basically lives the rest of his life scarred by childhood trauma, not really doing anything about it except in regard to the dragons, which...
I have conflicting views on Aegon because, like, he seemed to do a decent job of ruling and, you know, keeping the peace. He has this speech where he's like, I will give the small folk bread and circuses and that will be all. So, yeah, he does a good job of ruling. Good is sort of in quotes. But, like, 20 years after his mother's died and he's still depressed as fuck and, like... I don't know, how long do you give someone leeway to get over things? Seeing your mum died by a dragon.
Yeah.
This is like childhood trauma, right?
Yeah, and
that
plus
stuff stays with you.
Yeah, and he didn't have a shrink or anything like that. I mean,
sometimes you just don't get past it.
Yeah, plus...
But like he had therapy in Westeros, right? He couldn't get over it. That mess.
He probably has survivor skills as well.
And then his wife kills herself randomly, and I mean, he was probably really terrified for his life throughout the Regency, right?
It wasn't just that, wasn't he? So didn't somebody try to poison him? And his best friend, who was also his taste tester, died from that poison? Yeah,
this guy had a really tough life.
Yeah. It's okay that he's a bit wallowy, but yeah.
But then after that, he gets presented 1,000 maids. So he can marry one, and then he chooses like the last one who his sisters want him to choose.
Yeah. Again, like, this is the type of guy who in another Targaryen would have started another war or something, you know, but because he doesn't have, like, ironically, like, the Targaryens who have the least historical impact are most likely to be the good ones. So
because they don't fuck things up.
Exactly.
They're totally boring.
I'm gonna stay right here, and
I would say I would give him a few more lemon cakes just because he is. I mean, even though he doesn't do very much, his reign is still kind of interesting and sad. Definitely very sad. Everything that happens to him and his friends, and the only good thing that happens to him essentially is when he finds out that his brother Viserys is actually alive, and he's ransomed back to them. That seems to be a good thing for them, because Viserys then turns out to be a pretty capable hand of the king. So yeah, you can just mention that he also had a dragon when he was a child, called Stormcloud, but that Stormcloud and last dragons alive all died under his reign. So that's why he's called Aegon the Dragonbane. He even tried to call 9 mages from around the world to revive a clutch of eggs that hadn't hatched, but it didn't work. So he is forever known as Aegon the Dragonbane, or Aegon the Unlucky, which also fits. He gets a second wife also. We forgot to mention that. And by her, she gives him 2 sons and 3 daughters. Very, very beautiful daughters. So he finally managed to like become intimate with somebody, even though he according to the story is even afraid to be touched by people. Yeah, it's a sad story, but yeah.
Yeah, as he gets older and older, he just locks himself away.
Yeah.
It can't be underestimated, I think, how badly, like, obviously the fact that he's boiled down to like the Unlucky or the, Dragon's Bane or whatever doesn't make him look that good, but it can't be underestimated how important it was for the realm to have a time of peace now.
Mm.
In the wake of this war that like lasted actually past some of its like the main people who were fighting it past their deaths.
If Aegon was like crazy and like tried to start another war, I could see the Targaryen dynasty just like dissolving. So yeah, I do think Aegon gets the credit for just holding things together when they needed to be held,
and actually surviving the regency in terms of a ruler. Like a lot of regents, a lot of people who are ruled by regents, they don't become, because I mean regents want to stay in power usually. They're not like, oh, I'm totally here for the good of my future king and my realm, So the fact that he did successfully take power,
grow his line.
Yeah, region would probably suggest something like, hey, wouldn't it be totally cool if you made like a rule that made me like your permanent hand of the king?
Right. Did he kill any of the regents after? I haven't read this in a long time, but
no, I think he just dismissed them.
Yeah, he was pretty like he's just saying like, I don't need you anymore, and I'm gonna do things my way. But yeah, no, I don't think actually any of them got killed, not even Peak.
So I give this guy 4 lemon cakes.
3.5.
Yeah, I'm going to agree.
Who we? Aegon the Third?
Aegon the Third, yeah.
Yeah.
So 4 and 3. Wow. I mean, yes.
Yeah, I'll go with 3.5, 4, maybe. Just for holding it all together after the Dance of the Dragons.
Also, do no harm. Like.
Yeah, and we have to note that Tanya has gone to sleep. It is now 12:30, midnight in where she lives. So, and she's been
Sweet
up early.
Dreams, Tanya.
Yeah, sad to lose you so soon. I mean, not really lose you, but for tonight.
Clearing that up.
So about an average of 3.5, it seems, for this one. That's the highest score we've gotten this evening.